Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since I've done any sort of upload. I thought that, well, a lot's happened in that time since my last proper upload and now. So, I was thinking about it and I'm like, I should do something with the channel again and see what comes of it. So here I am. Quick update. Well, geez, a lot's happened actually. So I'm a father now, which is a big deal. Massive deal actually. It's been great. We had my wife and we had our son arrive late November of last year, so that's 25. And yeah, it has been an absolute, it has meant an absolute shift and change of lifestyle for us, that's for sure. But it's been one that, that's been really good for us. Certainly it's had its challenges at times, but I think that we've transitioned well into a season of parenting. Also too, we finally made the leap and we moved. So we moved from Australia to the Philippines. We've been here now for a couple of months, and that has also been quite a transition as well. So I thought, it'd be an interesting, thing to maybe touch on, with you guys, and a good way of self-reflection as well. Recognising where we're at and the decisions that we've made and how they've kind of impacted us, and I guess the reasoning why as well. No doubt, if you're tuning in from anywhere in Australia, you'd be very conscious of, how expensive everything's become. And it was something that I was talking about a few years back. I think 22, I was talking about, the increased cost of living in Australia and what it looked like then, largely, but also for us. And, obviously since then it's progressively gotten worse. It was interesting seeing just how rapidly it happened. I remember, back in 22, we were living in Bulimba, which is just outside of Brisbane City. It's considered an affluent area, and it was just amazing seeing over a very short period of time, things like rent, how quickly they increased. We were paying nearly double our rent from over an 18-month period or thereabouts. And it kept increasing. So I think at our peak, we ended up having to move into a lesser affluent area. So we moved from Bulimba we went to Ascot. We were there for a while. That was fine, just as affluent, if not more so than Bulimba. But then we moved to Chermside. Chermside was our last stop before we left, and we were paying, close to $800 a week for not very much. And yeah, as at that point, it was absolutely evident that that it was no longer sustainable, living in Australia, especially as a new young family with only one working adult earning an income. It was just unviable. And what's crazy about it is it's gotten a lot worse since then. So we were fortunate enough to be able to have the resources to be able to make a move. And even then, it wasn't an easy decision. I mean, we made it quickly, sure, but it wasn't easy, because you have those doubts, doubts of, doubts, is this the right decision? Knowing that, the Philippines, as much as it's a beautiful country, is also a developing one. And the quality of life here is much harder than what I'm accustomed to. And, being an Aussie, living his entire life in Australia, we're very bubbled. I really had no realisation of hardships, outside of what Australia determines as a hardship. When you come to places like the Philippines, the hardships in your face, and it's real hardship, and so you ask those questions. Is it even the right decision? Income, how do I generate an income here? And even if I could get the appropriate visa so I could work here, how much money can I really earn here anyway? Then other questions of health. I have a newborn. I have a wife, who's recovering from a pregnancy. Like, how good is the healthcare here? And out of the options available, how expensive is it? In Australia, we're very lucky. We have, it's not a perfect system, but someone who's been a part of the health system, in Queensland, we have very good health, and relatively free health. I mean, if you have private health insurance on top of what you get for your taxes, mate, like you can pretty much get what you need where you need as quickly as you need it. And here, like the standard and quality of care is not here. It's not there. Nowhere near the equivalent standard, which is crazy to me, being that I think 30 or 35% of the world's nurses are Filipino. It's one of the greatest exports. But things like that. Also, too, long-term viability. Like, things when we left in Australia were hard. I was working long hours. I was earning a relatively good income, above the median average. Even with that, again, we were losing $800 a week in my net earning, just in paying the rent. It didn't leave much for anything else. So moving out of that, moving to a country that's cheaper, theoretically, to live. But the cons are you can't work and earn near the equivalent sort of income. And people start going, oh, well, you can always, work remotely and do that way. Yeah, look, I'm sure there are opportunities out there. But the market's well and truly aware as well that, if you're needing remote workers, it's going to be much cheaper to outsource Filipinos to do it than trying to pay an Australian in the same location of those that outsourcing, and having to pay at the Australian way, which is, by global standards, like, too expensive. Like, Australians, we earn a lot of money. Incomes are very high, In Australia, that doesn't really mean much, but if you could earn the equivalent sort of income, median average here in the Philippines, mate, you are in the top 1% in this country, or I'd even argue top half of 1%. You'd be very wealthy. So yeah, and so those opportunities to work remotely aren't really there, or if they are there, they're not abundant. But yeah, and again, so many considerations anyway, and yeah, it's yeah, there's a lot, but ultimately, I'm someone who tries not to live in fear, and I'm a God-fearing man, and I believe that God will provide. He's the provider, not I. So we took a leap of faith, and we are here now, and we're doing it. And so far, I'm all the glory to God. He's been able to provide everything we need as we need it. And yeah, again, I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. Again, another one of those considerations I think I was leading down towards before I got distracted is, coming here, you can save a lot of money, sure, if you live right, as opposed to living in Australia. But understanding as well, because you're not in the same level of income, the question is, when do you go home and how do you afford to? Australia, as I said, since we left, has gotten considerably worse when it comes to affordability. And, the question I ask myself is that I can only be in this country for, a certain period of time before my visa says otherwise. Then what? If I'm not earning, I haven't got the money to be able to put aside to come back. What does coming back to Australia look like? And I still don't know the answer to that question, if I'm being completely honest. It's not, that one's not yet been answered. And look, no doubt it'll come when it's supposed to, but yeah, it's still something that, is there in the back of my mind, and I just continue to hope that, God's plan is good, which it will be, it always is, and that He has it covered. So 2026 has been an interesting journey so far. Something really crazy I should just mention too. I was, I'm going for a walk and having a vlog, and my phone literally shut off because of the heat. Because I'm walking at the moment in the sun in the Philippines, which Philippines, for those who don't know, it's really close to the equator, so it is hot all the time. Like, it is disgusting hot. Like right now it's about 9:30 in the morning and it's already 32 degrees Celsius and no breeze. It is yuck, but again, it could be worse things. But so that's my thoughts, and that's my thoughts around moving to the Philippines, and and why it was the best decision, I think, for us in this current season. So I mean that was a pretty quick update. I think that don't want to overload you guys, but that's where we're at. So we're in the Philippines. I'm a dad now, and I'm walking in the very hot 9 a.m. sun in the Philippines. Very good. All right, well, look, I don't really think I have anything more to add at this point, but I'm going to try and do a bit more a few more uploads. You know, I've got a bit more free time these days. So if you could bear with us, that would be great. And if you have any questions about the Philippines, I think that one thing I find really interesting about Philippines, before COVID, and again, I didn't really know much about Philippines before I met my wife. But my understanding is that before COVID, Philippines had a very strong tourism industry here. And it's interesting now, like in the time that I've been coming and going, and I've been coming again and going since COVID. I've even seen, so when I first came here, tourists were still banned from entering the country. So when I first came to the Philippines towards the end of 21, and that's when, and I was allowed to come here because I had a special exemption because I was married. But basically the Philippines had been cut off from foreigners, tourists for nearly 2 years at that point. And I can remember how dead it was, and the tourists, and obviously as those restrictions lifted, we started to see a bit of a change of landscape, a few more foreigners coming in, whatever. But surprisingly, it's not like, looking at it now, there's not many. And I was reading some articles about tourism in this country has really plummeted since COVID. Because of all the challenges this country faces, it's really turned off a lot of foreigners coming here to holiday, move here, whatever. And it's not, there's not many foreigners in comparison to to what I've been told and what I've read before COVID. So and you can see that how everyone struggles because of it, especially in the area that I'm in. It used to be very, and it still is, there's quite a large expat population here. But yeah, the expats bring a lot of money with them, and you can see that people are really struggling here. There's not as much money in the economy, I guess, and this is what they're saying, and so that's just another interesting observation is foreigners aren't coming here like they used to anymore, and that has a broader impact on on the economy and people here, because a lot of Filipinos rely on the foreigner dollar, which is a lot harder now to get. I don't even know why I ended up going down that path, but just another thing I thought I'd talk about since it came up in my thoughts. But if you guys have any questions, it's a bit scattered this, I'm sorry, but if you have any questions about the Philippines, if you're in Australia or anywhere around the world you're considering a move here, reach out, ask the questions. I might be able to speak into that a little bit, provide a bit of clarity. But I think for now, I think that's enough said. So look, I will leave it there. But look, I do appreciate you guys tuning in once again. Look, if you guys could please like and or subscribe, that would be amazing. I will try and be a little bit more active on this channel. But again too, if you have any questions, please send them through. We'll jump on them and look forward to catching up with you guys again. All right, goodbye for now.